The Delaware primary is fast approaching, and as we get closer to the mayoral race, one of the key races here in Wilmington, since of course James Baker can't run again, is now up to 5 Democrats and 1 Republican to convince voters who's right for the job. This week, we continue with our Decision Wilmington series, which allows us to get up close and personal with the candidates. In the studio with us is Democratic candidate Robert Bovell. Welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me this morning.
Now first, Robert, let's start off with your qualifications. What makes you qualified for the job? 30 seconds.
Wow. You know what? The same thing that makes anyone qualified, being concerned and someone being able to put themselves, engulf themselves in the community, to be that voice for the community. That's one of the primary qualifications that I feel.
Well, tell me, in your bio, talks about you're a bail bondsman.
That is correct.
Tell me, how would that help as mayor and pretty much work for the city of Wilmington?
Well, you know what? Being a bail bondsman, you get a chance to get a feel from all walks of life, different ethnicities, cultures. People get in trouble. A lot of times what we don't understand about how the bail bonds process work, it's like a due process. I mean, let's say if Nikki went out here and she pushed somebody down because they pushed her, that person ran to the police first and they pressed charges, and the judge felt, though, I should give you a $3,000 secure bail. Nikki doesn't have $3,000, but you know, there's companies out there what they call bail bondsmen, and with our federal and state laws and guidelines says, you know what, as long as you post a bail until this court case is exonerated, completely over, and you find yourself innocent, you'll get your $3,000 back. You don't have it, I put it up, you just give me 10%, $300. So I believe into you until that process is completed. That's basically how it works.
So your passion for the city, what are your concerns as far as the city of Wilmington? If you're elected, what's the first thing you plan to do?
Well, again, I have to look at city overall, what we've been going through. And you look at from 2004 to present, you know, the words that we've been seeing in the newspaper, in the media is downgrading, deplorable, depression, our budgets, money deficits. And these are things that I believe government hasn't really challenged. In the first 120 days of my candidacy and being in office as the chief administrator, that's what I call the mayor, I would like to realign the vacant properties in the housing development department, which is one of the 16 departments in structured government and city government. I want to try to get them to work collectively to try to bring back, you know, home ownership to people that can own homes. The key word to this whole process, Nikki, is affordability. And that's something that we have not challenged. And being government, although we may have land bank the properties out or have them sitting for a nonprofit or big business, I would like us to take them back and challenge the ones that been vacant, especially for so long. Try to fix these properties up using a multiplicity of different businesses, not people from out of town. You always heard Mr. Bovell tout, I don't want to keep dealing with outsiders. Let's take care of our own. We have unemployment here. We have families struggling. If we start this process of giving back to ourselves, we can turn this cycle around that would change crime, that would change unemployment, that would change education.
Is that the reason why you've purchased pretty much some dilapidated housing here in the city, to create some type of affordability for people here?
The reason, one of the stronger reasons why I purchased some of the properties that was here, some of them were vacant, some of them were the blight in the community. I wanted to try to bring another sense of ownership and financial ability to that community or to that area of town. So if I took a building that was 25 years vacant and it was an eyesore, and at the time it was only worth $11,000 with tax assessment and land assessment, and then I totally rehab it with sprinkler systems and cameras and, you know, make them apartments and a storefront and give it a value of $419,000, now the people in the area have a value upgrade in their property. And that's what it's all about.
What's your take on crime? Pretty much a hot topic in the headlines these days.
Well, you know, crime, it's getting younger and younger, and a lot of the crime is petty crime, and I see it first. And what I mean by I see it first is they do come there to get bail. Again, I think what we as government do, we look at people that get in trouble as if they should be locked up and thrown away, but not really looking to the nuts and the bolts of why people are doing what they're doing. One thing, I don't have a recycled door at my company when we bail them out. We really try to get people out and give them a chance. We're probably the only bail bondsman in the country to have educational attainment, job placement, case management. We go to court with you. We help you find jobs. We try to reach out in a whole lot of ways. And if you want to see crime reduce, we got to get people jobs. You know, it's something when you can't put a solid meal on the table. And those are the things that touch me the most. Watching children eat macaroni and cheese and bread for dinner and maybe a donut and a cup of juice for breakfast. We want to try to bring back the values and the quality of life into the home where the parents' confidence is back. We find them jobs. The kids' confidence is back where the older sibling doesn't have to work because the parents are not working to fend for his younger siblings, and the father doesn't have to make a negative choice to either sell drugs or alcohol or doing something undesirable to make ends meet. That's how we're going to get the crime to reduce, by giving back in that manner.
What about getting rid of the current police chief? Do you think that's a place to start?
Well, we have to look at public safety and other structures of government as a whole. We got to bring everybody back in at the table. Will people be replaced? Yes. Who will be replaced? We have to do that with interviews, knowing what they were doing. Again, I'm on the outside looking in. We always give an outsider response when it comes to, oh, the police chief got to go. He may very well have to lose his job, but I want to collectively talk to the inspectors and, you know, the co-chiefs and the captains and find out what is it that we can do for deploying, for as working in the community, for as dealing with the community associations and trying to reduce the crime. Crime is something that's not going to go away, but if we change the quality of life, if we work with families and people, instead of you having 50 people out there hanging, if you get 30 of those 50 working, that 20 that don't want to do nothing, then you can see who really wants to be the troublemakers. Then we deal with them in an effective manner.
Pretty much, we have a long list of candidates trying to get to the mayor's seat. What's your take on that, considering in your bio you mentioned that you were the only one that stepped up in 2008? And
2004. And should I say Nikki or should it be Nicole?
Whichever you want to say.
Okay, Nikki, the great thing about that is, and that's why the campaign team that I have came around me and embraced me. They said, you're the only candidate that stood up to current government 2004 and 2008. And remember, the other candidates that's been in government, they have collectively over 100 years of experience. They've already known the words deplorable, degrading, downsparing, everything that was bringing the city down. Why haven't you not challenged it? Because we still have a good old boy system process here. We have to get rid of that process. Government should be about the people. The people put us in place. If we do not represent the people effectively, then who are we to call ourselves politicians, civil leaders, people of the community? And that's the change I want to bring. And if you look at my candidacy over the years, you know, again, like I was telling you off camera, you know, we thought being in government was something that was appointed. We never knew that you can stand up to the challenge and just pay your filer fee, providing you don't have a criminal background. The education is in the process. The education you don't find in no college. If someone went to Harvard or went to Yale and they took a political science and they come into the west side of Wilmington and you drop them off in there, you still got to learn the west side of Wilmington. Your Yale and Harvard skills and education is not going to help you solve anything. You have to get involved with the people. You got to know what it takes to change the community. If I know that there's 127 negative properties in there where drug dealers hide their drugs and people do their crimes and people, you know, doing robberies in those areas, then what we want to do is lift those areas up by talking to the neighbors, by finding affordable properties for people who can afford. And again, like I was saying with my vacant property plan, it's a plan where two people working full-time at McDonald's can afford a house. It's called affordability. It's exciting. I'm excited.
Okay. Well, I have a few things to throw at you.
Sure.
First thing, city finances. How do you plan to handle that? Do we expect any tax increases at all?
Oh, not at all. Again, if we tackle some of the other challenges, the budget alone, so $147 million. If we cut 5% from each department, trim the fat off of the budget. 5% from each department will bring us anywhere between $5 to $7 million. We already facing a deficit between 1 to 3. They already reduced it to maybe just a little bit over 1 million. So just with those numbers alone, we'll have enough money to start initiating the vacant property program, to start initiating community service and buildings and opening up. Now, we're not going to have enough money to say we're going to give raises in areas, but if we move the vacant property program in the correct direction, with that many properties being vacant, that brings another income anywhere between $25 to $65 million. These are challenges that government just never stepped up to do. Like some of the candidates said, the city don't want to be in the housing, in the landlord department. It's not you being in the landlord department, it's actually taking advantage of a process that we can very well do. When I gave you the numbers, if you went to the website, this 1,463 properties, the address changed. Some of the properties been on there since '89, but it's been like that since 2004 to present. That's so 12 years of the same thing. Don't you think we should challenge something?
So you have a plan when it comes to city finances. What about a priority list for neighborhoods? Often people have said that the city is focusing on the riverfront.
That is very well true.
So a priority list of neighborhoods. Do you plan, I guess, you're from Hilltop. Would you start with Hilltop first?
I want to start with all neighborhoods that feel though that their neighborhoods have been neglected. Then we have to find out their concern. Maybe we can hold forums and hold meetings in these other communities and see what they want. Now, I'm immediately tell the people, no, we're not here to be moving trash cans for parking spaces and putting a tree here. Flower pots and trees are nice, but that's not the primary concerns and the problems in some of the neighborhoods that have blight. We need to fix the vacant properties. We need to fix the blight. We need to challenge the crime. And to do that is start to open up other avenues. And these avenues is jobs. These avenues is challenging educational barriers. I'm not saying city government has a lot to do with education, but it starts by if that child, older sibling, has to work to bring money into the household, he or she's not going to finish school. We need to change that process.
What about the arts? Sorry to cut you off. The arts in the city. Are you a strong supporter?
What type of arts?
Festivals, the jazz festival.
Oh, yeah, I would love to keep them around. I would like to bring back, we used to have concerts. I remember when I was coming up, we had James Brown and Patti LaBelle would come to either Rodney Square or Rockford Park. Okay. I would like to bring that back to the city.
Okay. Yeah. And just one last question. We know the current mayor as someone who'll definitely let you know how he feels if he doesn't like something. So do you plan to follow in his footsteps when it comes to voicing your opinion?
Well, you know, I have a personality and people love my personality. I'm very open, I'm very people oriented, so I'm approachable. So that's one advantage I probably have over all the candidates. There's some other candidates that say they're approachable and they're out in the limelight, but why didn't you step up to the limelight back then? Why now? That's my big question.
Well, thanks so much, Robert. Robert Bovell, Democratic candidate for mayor, our decision.